To pray, there's no angels where I go. Only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody, this is Q Show here. Now, whenever we last left off, Deku, he had just looked at the model number of the gun he was holding, along with actually talking a bit more with this girl and contacting the mummy. So, he has a plan, but first, he needs to take care of his injuries. Now, Mummy and the doctor would eventually arrive, the girl hearing a knock downstairs, along with her actually somewhat getting up and running very fast. Clearly this safe house isn't very safe, if she needs to do this urgently, to which she would open the front door. Mummy and this doctor somewhat pushing past her, telling her that a safe house and her own apartment isn't very good. So, exactly what is going on? As Mummy would eventually see Deku, he would see him somewhat just sitting there nursing his injury, along with the doctor telling him that he should be careful. This could have gotten infected. Now, Deku would go over everything that happened. The warehouse, him jumping off the pier, getting shot, and yeah. This girl finding him and apparently from him chatting with her cleaning up his blood trail, along with actually using vinegar to disinfect his blood so that they won't be able to use it. Now, this is whenever Mummy would actually turn to her, just giving her a thumbs up, saying that it was a good idea, or at least a good job. But how did you dispose of the container? Her saying that she kind of blacked out the model number underneath, or at least the numbers underneath the bottle. She filled it up with water, tore the label, and chucked it into the ocean, as far as she could. I'm actually thinking that that's good, but she should have kept it. There's no telling exactly if they'll find it or not. Now, with that being said, Deku, he would be put under for surgery. This doctor has at least had to do this a lot of times. If you pay the right price, he'll come to you, no questions asked. Give you surgery, medical aid, doesn't care what type of injuries, as long as you pay him. So, Deku would be put under with some gas and actually treated on the bed. The girl a bit confused. The doctor getting to work pulling out the bullets and actually helping Deku by resetting some of his ribs. Or at least doing what he can. He doesn't want to do full open surgery, so he would just cut open the area right there on his side. Now, with that being said, while Deku is passed out, let's go over some of the events of his past. From whenever he was 8 years old and kidnapped. Deku, he's on the outside of town. He's already used to doing all this, along with actually having his hair dyed a different color. He was told that they're going to need to dye it, otherwise he's going to look more obvious. So, Deku, he actually had his hair dyed to, I would say a dark color like black, but I feel like that would be a bit too obvious. So I could see Deku probably going for a more fancy, not fancy, Mummy basically doing something that a lot of people wouldn't expect, dyeing his hair red or possibly even a blonde. So for the sake of it, let's say that Deku's hair is, well, red. Now, actually no, let's go for black because red would stand out too much, especially in Japan. Anyways, Deku, he is firing a rifle, and he's actually enjoying it. It's quite cool. And Mummy is there too, giving him targets to fire at, staying there waiting. As eventually a lot of cards will begin to pull up, and this would be a lot harder to think about. Mummy was supposed to talk to someone, but clearly that someone must have sold him out. So, he's going to have to take him down later, or if there is a later. Mummy would have instructed Deku to start running, as he would run over to a box and open it. He would begin to pull out grenades and just chucking them in that direction. As soon as he chucks 3, he would grab his handgun and turn running into the forest, telling Deku to just run. One of the SUVs or cars would have at least exploded, along with killing or at least injuring a few more people. The rest of these men in suits would run into the forest. They are told not to kill the boy. Their objective has changed with him. The higher-ups need him alive. Now, because of that, they are only using darts. So, this will be a lot simpler, or at least a lot harder for them. The man, they can kill. They have full well permission. The boy, he's usable. Now, eventually, after a couple minutes, Deku would be running through, and he's actually jumping from branch to branch sometimes. At least being able to try and swing or just keep moving. He doesn't want to be close to the ground. Plus, if they're going to try and hit him, it's going to be a lot harder whenever he has something in between him and them. Now, this is whenever Deku, he would feel a sharp pain in one of his legs, as he would look down. Someone just shot him in the foot, or at least into the back of his knee. So that's not going to work. Deku basically trying to move through the forest, somewhat beginning to feel himself losing consciousness, but he at least wants to keep moving. This is going to be more and more difficult. Eventually, he would try and clear a jump, where he tries to swing over and tries to catch a branch. He catches the branch, but it didn't have enough or wasn't sturdy enough, and he began to move it downwards, beginning to snap, as he tries to reach his hand out for another one, missing it, beginning to fall to the forest floor, before he gets caught by someone, and something immediately plunged into his neck, him not remembering anything after that. Now, after that happened, Deku, he really just wakes up somewhere. Not sure where he is or not sure what's going on. Just knowing that he's strapped to a chair, and there seems to be tech in front of him. Good, there's tech in front of him. You can use that, just like Mummy said. Okay. Keep calm. Just don't let them know. As someone will walk forward, Deku clearly seeing them, asking exactly who they are. They would just say that that's not important, but your quirk. You are the son of Hisashi Midoriya. Deku's somewhat just tensing up. He hasn't heard his dad's name in quite a long time. It's a bit nostalgic, but he would somewhat tear up a bit, as the man would just repeat his mother's name, Inko Midoriya, died in a house fire incident. Interesting. So, we already know about your quirk, we know about your mom's quirk, yada yada yada. Now, do you mind doing us a bit of a favor? No. Excuse me. I said no. I'm not helping you. Young man, you have no choice. Listen, the tech right here on this table we need a bit of requirements. Activating it. Newest surveillance tech, newest military tech. This stuff is so advanced, it basically can nearly replicate your own quirk. In fact, that's what we have this little gizmo here for. The man holding up a helmet that, eerily enough, resembles a part of Deku's mask, the eye goggles. Somewhat like the ones fancy, or not fancy, the mummy had. Now, Deku would just stare at this helmet for a minute. It's big, it's bulky, and it's connected to a lot of wires, along with quite a lot of TV screens. The man is saying that this is their newest model, in fact. Their previous test subject was a bit more unwilling to comply, so they're a bit of disposed right now. Now, the man would walk over and place the helmet on Deku's head, after someone had to restrain it. And Deku would not interface with it, until he gets a large volt of electricity pumped into him. The man basically saying to turn it on, otherwise he's going to get another. Deku listening this time, as he turns it on, and begins to see everywhere at once. He's seeing places he's never been to. He's pretty sure that might be the US, he's pretty sure that might be Cuba, Paris. Everywhere around, it's so weird and interesting. As he comes back to this town, hearing every single person's conversations at once, as he basically begins to somewhat begin screaming, and actually trying to move the helmet or shake it off his head. As after a full minute, the helmet will be turned off, and Deku's panting heavily. Whatever they did, they just piggybacked off his quirk. He can at least notice that. Something didn't feel right. As one of the men would walk forward, they would just think that that was a bit impressive, and a proper test drive. Testing out more and more of this tech with Deku, along with a bit of a experimental piece. One of the men has a brainwashing quirk, so they want to see exactly how Deku would respond to outside stimuli during one of these tests. Going on more and more and more. The specialized piece the man wears around his neck is at least enough to make a bit of psychological effects to his quirk. Basically, you may still subconsciously listen to him even after he's stopped talking. Now, because of that, Deku would somewhat be under this man's control. He is highly paid, too. Usually the only reason some of these tests actually do work is because of his quirk. You can't get someone to comply for 7 or 8 days. This man comes in and can do it in a matter of 3 minutes. Somewhere where you failed. So, this is weird. Deku, he's actually going through more and more of these tests. Until one day, about a month later, there's a bit of an incident. Deku is testing out what seems to be the latest prototype. Deku's testing a new pair of goggles, along with actually a bit of a kinetic tech, as you can call it. Basically, it was specially made to react to the user's brainwaves, and the helmet Deku is wearing, it is exactly made for that tech. So, this is where Deku, he is standing up today, instead of being restrained to his chair. He is told to move the tech around and let it hover through the air. So, Deku would do so, as he tests out technology he's never even heard of. until the incident, that some people were worried about. Deku somewhat being able to hack into this tech subconsciously. He would have been able to hack into it subconsciously and smash it into the man. This seemed like a giant chair, or at least something that Deku didn't really care about. So, him actually doing so basically smashed the man's neck against a wall along with breaking his collar, or at least this thing around his neck that allows him to control Deku. As soon as it broke, Deku, he would have snapped back into it. Instead of feeling himself in the corner of his brain, he feels himself everywhere, and would immediately get to work hacking the automatic doors and shutting them down, powering down every single door in the complex, as he tries to send a message to, well, the mummy. He would send it out, but he didn't send it to just Mummy. He sent it out everywhere. Every single TV in the town would have gone blank and show a symbol. This symbol in particular, as it would begin a cry for help. Deku just saying, "Mummy, please, I need your help. They have me at what seems to be this location, this place. Please come now." As the transmission gets cut off. As soon as it was beginning to broadcast, they were getting to work on shutting it down, as it was considered a public prank by the media, or at least a joke that was very well planned to air on every single thing, even radio, which Deku didn't really know he could do. As Deku sits in this room, with things on lockdown, curled up into a ball, with his helmet on, he actually does begin trying to look at the code, or at least look at things. As there is a bit of a voice Deku can hear. He knows exactly what it is. As he turns looking out a window, seeing a man in a finely dressed suit. And, well, his hair slicked back.
Well, well, young man. Quite the show you put on for us. Wouldn't you all agree? Anyways, exactly what are you doing? You were supposed to be testing those, not countering us. You've even gone and taken out poor Mr. Smith. He has a family, you know. Then again, I don't think you killed him. Possibly just broke his spine. Or something at least. He'll get back up soon. And when he does, he'll be able to turn off your little rebellion, open the automatic doors, and allow us back in. Your little cry for help was silenced the moment it got out. Anyways.
Deku just staring at this man, saying that that's not true. More of the tech around Deku being to move and actually float up into the air. One of these things is clearly a quirk enhancement tech. It's illegal. Deku at least knowing that from Mummy. He's studied tech, and things that have been invented before. Those quirk drugs, they quickly became illegal. Quirk tech, however, that's experimental, but highly illegal. So, Deku, he would be a bit more keen on this. Immediately walking over and grabbing this piece, everyone somewhat just staring at Deku. As he would walk over to the chair and begin to fiddle with it, taking off this giant clunky helmet that makes him control the chair. Or at least this piece of tech that he smashed into the man. As soon as it gets off his head, it would have fallen to the ground. So, Deku doesn't need it, as he would slide on this piece over his head. Everyone watching his eyes somewhat beginning to glow, as he turns back around, looking at the monitors, and just waves his hand. Them all coming on. Deku beginning to use things, or at least use tech. Him going deeper into the internet than he's ever gone before. Interfacing with it like as if it's just him putting on a pair of glasses. And seeing the world. As he continues over everything, he would broadcast something that the organization may not like. Something that he's seen, time and time again. He broadcast one of his memories. But he does at least do one thing right. He puts them from his angle, along with actually thinking about blanking out his name, along with his parents' name, putting in a high-pitched sound in their places. Basically, scrambling everything about himself. As that is aired publicly. People being able to see the man who's hurting Deku. Now, this would be something no one expected to see. Along with Deku actually showing Fancy Man on camera, as you can say. As there would be a loud sound. The building that people were talking about has somewhat been attacked. Not only by heroes, but by the hacker corporation groups. Hacker corporation groups, that's a new word. No, the people that are after Deku. They don't want the corporation to have him. So they're at least trying to hack into it, and keep them away from him. Except, this is a bit odd. Deku, he's thinking that he's at least in some high-class place. But he's not. In fact, the corporation head office in the middle of the city, it's being attacked while Deku's true location is hidden. Deku is told they're at the head office, but that's not true. They're in some random warehouse, underground. Now, Deku would at least be able to find that out, and repin his signal. The screen's changing after Deku shows everything that's happened to him, to a dot on the map. Everyone being confused by this. This prank is not funny anymore. In fact, it's downright disturbing. So, exactly what is going on? Now, this is whenever a lot of people would be heading that way. Heroes and pros. Along with Mummy. He was able to get out of the forest, and whenever he found out they had Deku, he was at least tailing close behind. Now, Deku would have done something that they found a bit odd. He opens the top floor, locking or at least unlocking the access point in the elevator, allowing Mummy inside, along with quite a lot of other pros. People are staring at him, but hey, the dude must be a pro, especially if he's dressed like that. So his gimmick's gotta be cool. As a lot of people would begin making their way through. They would be fighting with these villains as they think they are, and Fancy Man would begin escaping. Along with Deku doing something that he found a bit more intriguing. The place has security lockdown protocols, so you can lock down a portion of the areas. And there doesn't really seem to be any maps from what he's been seeing on the cameras of this facility underground. Now, Deku, he would begin to close off certain areas that lead to him. allowing the heroes to take everyone down, Fancy to get away, and Mummy to be a bit confused, until he does stare at a camera, and tries to at least get someone's attention. Deku opening something up, right next to Mummy. Mummy would be confused as to why a wall just opened, but he would walk through. And he would continue. Now, eventually Mummy would come upon quite a few lab researchers, opening fire on them, and taking them down. As Deku would eventually be seen, he sees Deku just standing there in the middle of a room, a lot of wires connecting to the roof, and, well, him just a bit confused, or at least scared, curled up into a ball, looking at the TVs. As the door would have unlocked, Mummy walking in, and Deku just seeing him, taking off the goggles that he's been wearing for a long time. Mummy running over and actually grabbing Deku in a hug, saying that he's sorry. He's so sorry. He can't even begin to imagine what they've done to him. Now, Deku, he would begin to cry as he pulls off this advanced tech. This was something he doesn't want to ever use again. Mummy just looking at Deku. Deku just staring down at this little piece. Mummy somewhat notices it, grabbing it in his hands and going over it. Until he does one thing, bash it against his knee and break it in two. This seems to be the source of Deku's frustration, so he's going to get rid of it. Now, Deku, he would have left the facility, along with Mummy somewhat taking these pieces of tech that are left on the table. Some of them look useful. He just needs to find out what they do. He can get Midoriya's help after that, but he'll at least need to let the boy rest. Now, with that being said, Deku would wake up once again, as he would see the doctor, seeing the bullet that he got taken out of his side. As the doctor would begin to say that Deku should be okay now. He did need stitches and a few things, well, put in, but he'll come back in about 2 weeks. That should be a good enough time for your body to heal. But you do need to understand, if that gets infected, then it will be big trouble. So, this is going to be a bit more hard on your body. At least stay off your feet for a good week. Or at least just don't run around. Now, Deku, he would have just said yeah. Okay. As Mummy would begin taking Deku back to his, well, home, as you can call it. Back to where he's used to. Deku would at least do one thing that this girl found a bit intriguing, or at least was at least excited by. He hands her a bit of a phone number, saying that this will work, but along with that, your tech, it needs to be a little more updated. Deku walking over to her computer, putting his hand on the keyboard. She watches as he just stands there for a second as he just puts his hands up saying there. That will at least give you a bit more of a better system. Now, things are at least semi-automated. Her being a bit confused, as Deku would just walk out with Mummy, grabbing his gun and grabbing his grenade launcher, along with his pistol. On the way, Deku just saying that she won't contact him, I'll contact you. That phone number is in case of emergencies. Do you understand? Her somewhat saying yes. as Deku leaves. Now, she would have immediately begun looking at her computer and seeing what Deku did, along with chatting with her friends online in her hack group. Now, that is going to be where I leave this part off of, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next part.